So this big mess of stuff you see on my table here is going to somehow translate into putting a ham radio on my e-bike. You kind of have to think a little bit outside of the box, but we're going to get this done today, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'll take you along and show you how I put ham radio on my e-bike. Let's check it out. All right, folks, welcome back. So this is the stuff that I have all here. I have a mobile antenna, I have a mount, I have all sorts of stuff. And we're going to put this on my e-bike. And we're not going to do it in a style that will permanently mount it. We're not using a mobile radio. We're going to be using an HT. Matter of fact, this Baofeng I just reviewed because I was really impressed with the performance on it. So we're going to be using this. And if you notice, I have an adapter here from the connector to a SO239 female connector. For the male connector that's going to run to the back of the bike. I have some zip ties to make the cord neat. I have a way to hold the radio onto the bike. And of course, the headset, which I reviewed previously, and the antenna. Now, I'll put links to all this stuff down below. Every e-bike's going to be different, all right? I'm just letting you have some ideas so you can kind of brainstorm and think about how you might do this. Doesn't matter what you're doing, even if it's an FRS radio, GMRS radio, whatever. Give you some ideas of how to do this and put this together. Now, the first order item of business here is how am I going to actually mount this antenna? It is an NMO mount, okay? And this all comes apart here. I just have it screwed together, but it all comes apart, so it's just that little piece on the bottom that will go through this hole here. Now, you'll notice this is bent like this. If you check the link down below in my description, you'll see it's bent like this. Well, I bent it like this thinking I could drill this out and maybe mount it like this, but it wasn't secure enough and it was flopping around all over the place. So instead what I decided to do was cut this piece here, just have this one piece of metal, and put this around the rear bracket of my e-bike. Now I did have to squish these down a bit in my vise, but it will fit perfectly with those two screws. And I'll just drill a hole here, put this here, and it will extend out and have that nice little bit of a ground plane, not much. Again, I'm using a 5-watt radio. Now, I did previously do something similar to this, okay? And actually what I did was I actually took the HT antenna, got a mount for it, and mounted it somewhere on my scooter. Many years ago, I had a little Honda 50cc scooter. So I mounted a ham radio on that, and I just used the HT antenna. So what we're using today is going to be this antenna here from HYV or whatever it is. I'll have the link down below for you. It's not super huge. Again, it's just meant to basically separate the radio from the antenna. It has a little more gain than a HT antenna. Now, of course, I could do this really simply. I could toss this radio in this bag with the antenna sticking out, put my headphones on, be good to go. This is just an idea. I may want to put a bigger antenna on there. Maybe I want to do mobile HF on this thing. I don't know. This is just getting my brain working and your brain working on how you can put some kind of communications gear on your e-bikes or any other two-wheeled transportation. So to get started, I'm going to cut this piece here and drill a hole that will go through here. Okay, so we're going to have a hole here like that. We're going to get rid of all this basically from here back, and mount that on there. So that will be hanging off the back of the bike with this on here, and that's the perfect size to fit all this stuff through here. Right there. So I did have to take out the battery. I have 2 batteries on my e-bike, so the backup battery had to come out. I did clearance check everything so it will fit with these screws. And I did have to take off the saddlebags because I wanted more room to actually work on stuff. So let's get the bike outside. And first I'm going to cut this piece off and show you how that's going to work. And then we'll get the bike outside and mount it all up and see if it works. Now I do have some zip ties too to make everything nice and neat. So I do want to do this neatly. So let's get started. All right, so I'm going to explain what I did here really quickly. You remember this was one piece here. And what I did was I cut that edge off there, right here. And I have it set up so that this is going to fit perfectly on here, like that. And that's where my antenna is going to mount. And this is going to mount on the back of the rack. So this will go all the way through, if I can get it straight there, like that. And you'll have the other piece. And it'll be nice and tight. Now, I did have to, as you can tell by the kind of bulging on the ends here, this was made for a much bigger tube. I did have to squish this down a little bit in my drill. That's cool, because what we're going to do is tighten up these ends, and it will pull down nice and tight on the bar itself. The bar was a little bit smaller. Not much, but a little bit. So kind of think of it like this, okay? One of these deals. So it will fit perfectly. We're going to get the bike outside now and kind of mock it up. And I did cut this off and round off all the edges. These things are sharp, by the way, so be careful. I got a nice little cut already trying to spread the two apart when I was doing it. So I did sand it down a little bit and sharpen up, dull up the edges and round off the corners. I got my my grinder out, and just kind of flattened that off and rounded it up. So let's get it outside and let's try it out and see if our idea is going to work. All right, so you see I did have to take the battery out. This is my backup battery. My main one is up in the frame. And this is where we're going to be mounting the antenna back here. This is the bar I'm going to be using to tighten it down. I did clearance check everything and it should fit. Looks like the battery slides in there with the antenna mounted on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the mount on, and then we're going to check clearance. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to mock it up and show you what it's going to look like, and then we'll go from there. Not bad for just eyeballing it. So I just have it hand tight here. I don't have anything screwed down. I'm going to tighten this up a bit. I'm going to clearance check it to make sure the battery still fits in. Always better to do it before you tighten everything down permanently. And that hole back there is where the antenna is going to go and screw in on there on the NMO connector. So let me get this all hooked up and tightened up, and we'll check the battery, make sure this is centered, and we'll check the battery and see if everything clears. All right, so the battery perfectly clears in there, no problem at all. I'm going to take it back out. We're going to tighten that down, and I want to make sure it's centered. I'm going to tighten that down. Then we're going to run the antenna and see how that looks. All right, so I backed up a little bit to show you. This is how I'm going to do it. This is fairly secure now. It's not moving anywhere. That's good, nice and solid on there. I'm going to be looping it through here to just, increase the stability of it. This is all going to get covered with the saddlebags and the battery. So it's going to work pretty well. We're going to stick the battery in there and make sure it clears. And then the next thing I do before I even do any more is I'm going to check and make sure this antenna works with this particular radio. So let me get that hooked up first and try it out. All right, we are hooked up, and this is the connector I'm using to hook it up like that. We're just using the little connector from the adapter down to here. I'm going to tighten that little screw back down there. But there we go. So I'm going to try it out on one of our local repeaters. Now that 440 machine, just so you know, is very, very hard to get into with an HT. That is a definite improvement in sound. Now we'll try the 2 meters just to make sure. There we go. All right, let me ID. W6UTC test. So, there you go. Works perfectly. I don't know if you can see the... Whoop, that's on the 440. All right. So we're definitely doing okay with that. So what I want to do, because I have a lot of extra cable here, is kind of straighten up this cable real estate. Maybe do a couple of more wraps around here. I want to fit the battery in once I get that done, and then we'll move on from there, and I'll show you how the front's going to do, because there's a whole other piece that I've added to the front that I haven't shown you yet. So let's get into that. So a little bit of cable management and a little bit of organization here, and this will of course go back on it, but that's what I did for now. Cable was ridiculously long, and I seriously doubt this will affect any kind of issues with transmission or whatever, but I figured I'd just wrap it around and make it neat. I have run it up front here. I'm going to give you a quick look up front here. And we have it up to this handlebar. This is an extra handlebar that I purchased. It's a adapter, extender, handlebar extender, I think they call it. I'll give you a link. All the links for this stuff's going to be down below. So we're going to mount this here, and I have a little Blackhawk pouch. Now what I'm going to have to do with the pouch is place a little piece of cardboard in it, because I want to be able to see the screen while I'm using the radio as well. So the pouch is a little bit low, and I want to be able to see the screen. So I'm going to use that little bit of cardboard in there and space it out, put the adapter in here, and get everything all set up, and we'll see if it works. All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick tour around the bike. Looks like we're all finished up here. I did get this mounted in here. There is one bummer. You remember those Preparedness headsets? They don't work anymore. Well, the headset works. The button to activate the radio does not. So my transmit button is shot on that for now. I've got a little Baofeng hand mic. It'll work. It's definitely loud enough. There's no problem with that whatsoever.
Welcome. Channel mode.
So at least I have something there. I will be getting a new mic for it then. That's kind of a bummer, but you know what, it happens. I do have another headset mic that I might incorporate. It's just kind of a bit bigger. As you can see, all nice, neatly wired all the way across there. There's your antenna. Everything seems to be put away and looking good. So that is ham radio on the e-bike. Let me put you down here for a sec. And I'm pretty pleased with the way the project turned out. Everything the way I planned it worked great. Unfortunately, the headphone microphone system didn't work, but I do have another one from, I believe, Baofeng that is a little bit of a better one. So we'll try that one out too, but for now I got the hand mic on there, and I'll get the other one returned and replaced. So I'm definitely pleased with it. So folks, don't be afraid to experiment and mess around with ham radio. You know, don't be afraid to try stuff out and see if it works for you. You know, I know someone will come along here soon and told me I should have had a 5-element beam on the back of my bike with run with LMR 400 all the way to the radio and a 200-watt radio up front. And but you know, there's always somebody that are criticized, but not many people actually do the stuff. And that's what I love about ham radios. It gives me freedom to just kind of experiment and see what I like. So far, looks pretty cool, and it works pretty well too. I might find a way to organize that cable up front there next to the radio. I just put a piece of electrical tape around it for now just to hold it in place, but all in all, I mean, heck, you know, I could ride with this no problem at all. So definitely like it, definitely like the way it worked out. So folks, I'm going to leave a link to all the tools that I used in this down below, and show you what it's all about, and we can kind of go from there. If you feel you want to change some stuff out on your e-bike or maybe add ham radio to it, I'll leave you a link to all the stuff that I have that I've used in this video down there, including the pouch and everything. And I will leave you a link to the radio as well, that little Baofeng. I'm actually liking that one, and I think that's going to be a permanent fixture on this bike because I like its screen's nice and bright, and it seems to work very well. Definitely likes the antenna. It definitely gets out there, so that's really cool too. Anyway, folks, don't forget to check all our links down below. We have our freeze-dried wholesalers link. The link will save you 15%. Our Amazon store. If you don't see anything in the store you like, just shop as you normally would. We do appreciate that. And don't forget our My Patriot Supply link. That's preparewithiridium.com. Saves you tons of money on a 3-month kit this month. 3 months worth of food, $200 off, under $600 for 3 months worth of food, all ready to go. And of course, our Thrive Life freeze-dried food store. Now I'm going to get out of the heat here because it's kind of getting warm out here today. And I thank you guys for staying with me and being part of our little fun group here that we do with these videos. Stay safe and stay prepared.